The regime that is in charge now is, according to analysts, worse than the regime that it replaced. Yes, we killed a whole bunch of people, including the supreme leader, but from everything we understand, the group now in charge is more adversarial to U.S. interests and is going to be more provocative in the region.
Murphy is not speculating. He has been in the classified briefings. And what he just told the Senate reflects what U.S. intelligence analysts have concluded. The regime that replaced the one America decapitated is more anti-American and more regionally provocative than the one before it. This is a pattern, not an accident. Murphy cited it on NPR. Air campaigns harden civilian populations. They produce harder-line leadership. It happened in Afghanistan. It happened in Iraq. U.S. intelligence told Trump this before the first bomb dropped on February 28th. The war started anyway. 6 weeks later, 12 Americans dead, $2 billion per day spent. Iran projecting more regional power than before the war. The new regime running the country the war was meant to change. And not one public Senate hearing to explain.
A surge of additional U.S. forces in the Middle East and President Donald Trump's threat to obliterate Iran's energy infrastructure have set the stage for what U.S. and Israeli security officials increasingly see as the war's endgame, a battle for control of the Strait of Hormuz and key energy installations. Reopening the strait has emerged as perhaps the paramount objective of the war. Officials now believe it is unlikely to achieve goals that briefly seemed possible at the outset of the war, including overthrowing Iran's theocratic regime and putting a nuclear weapon permanently out of Tehran's reach. Okay, let me restate that for you. The Trump administration now says that the goal of the war is not to dislodge an anti-American regime in Tehran. It is not to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. It's not even to permanently end Iran's ability to have missiles that can reach their neighbors or drone capacity that can provoke in the region. The primary goal now is to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Here's the problem.
Any of it. Murphy has forced 3 war powers votes. Republicans blocked everyone. Every objective Murphy just dismantled was a public statement from the President of the United States. Regime change, nuclear program elimination, permanent missile capacity destruction. None of them are being pursued. Murphy confirmed this from inside the classified briefing. Military leadership said so directly. The objectives Trump announced to the public are not the objectives the military is executing. That is not a policy disagreement. That is the president publicly misrepresenting an active war. And the Republican Senate's response has been to schedule 0 hearings where that misrepresentation could be examined. Trump gave a primetime address to try to reset the narrative. Murphy's response was specific. The speech was grounded in a reality that exists.
And the only way to save American consumers, the only way to try to put the pieces back together in the region is for the war to end. So I am glad to be joined here on the floor today by several of my colleagues. Many of them have introduced similar resolutions. This will be the 3rd time that we have brought a war powers resolution before the floor. Senator Kaine and then Senator Booker. This will likely not be the last resolution that we will bring before the floor, because we have a sacred obligation handed to us by our founding fathers for this body and the House of Representatives to decide war. It was a very deliberate decision not to give the power to make war to one individual, to the President of the United States, but to give it to the people. And the people make their voice heard through their elected members of Congress. And so if our Republican colleagues will not do their duty if they are going to engage in an effort to hide the consequences of the war, if they are going to refuse to ask questions of our incompetent national security leaders at the White House who have waged this war without planning for the foreseeable consequences, then we will force a debate and a vote on
only in Trump's mind. The ceasefire Trump announced after threatening to destroy a civilization is 2 weeks long, fragile, without diplomatic architecture. Murphy's verdict: a 2-week ceasefire is not a strategy. It's Trump making it up as he goes. Murphy is describing a political trap Republicans are setting for themselves in slow motion. Every blocked vote is a recorded position. Every blocked hearing is a documented refusal. And every week this war continues, with prices rising, casualties mounting, and objectives evaporating. That record gets harder to defend. The polling is already brutal. 26 points against the war and climbing. Gas above $4. The Pentagon requesting $200 billion more from a public that doesn't support the war that money would fund. And then there is the funding the enemy problem that has no clean answer. Murphy laid it out on national television. The administration lifted sanctions on Iranian oil in late.
The strait was open before the war began. We are now seeking to solve a problem that we created. This is insanity. $2 billion is a lot of money. That's the minimum amount of money that is being spent every single day on this war. There are over a dozen families who are burying their loved ones in the United States, and there may be dozens more if this war continues. Prices are skyrocketing.
March sent Iran $14 billion while bombing them. Republicans have not publicly explained that decision because it cannot be explained. Murphy's prediction: the longer this runs, the fewer Republicans will be willing to stand next to it. He said it will get harder, not easier. The math on the polling and the economics supports him completely. 3 sentences. That is all it takes to describe what 6 weeks and billions of dollars have produced. The Strait of Hormuz was open on February 27, 2026. America started bombing Iran. Iran restricted the strait. The administration announced the new primary objective is reopening the strait. $2 billion per day. 12 Americans dead. The math is not complicated, but zoom out and it gets worse. The intelligence Murphy is working from says Iran now has more power over the global economy than at any point in its history. The new Iranian regime is more hostile to American interests than the one the war killed. Iran's missile and drone capacity, the stated justification for the strikes, will fully reconstitute within months of the bombing stopping. The nuclear program was never targeted. Trump threatened civilization-scale destruction, called a ceasefire within hours, posted that the shooting starts if talks fail. The ceasefire has no diplomatic structure. The Senate votes on war powers again this week. Murphy's war powers resolution does one thing. It asserts that Congress must authorize this war as required by the Constitution. Republicans will block it again. Rand Paul will vote yes. Every other Republican will vote to let one man who made this war up as he went continue making it up alone. The people who need to feel pressure right now are sitting in the Senate chamber. They represent you. Apply the pressure, subscribe, share, and stay watching.